Hello, I'm Stan Hall. Welcome to this edition of Gwinnett Sports Commission's Get in the Game. As every proud Atlantan knows, Super Bowl 53 will be taking place in just a few short weeks at the fantastic Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Joining us today to talk about all things Super Bowl 53 is Dan Corso, president of the Atlanta Sports Council. The Atlanta Sports Council serves Atlanta in a very similar way as the Gwinnett Sports Commission serves our county. They facilitate the growth and development of sports in the metro Atlanta region by serving as a recruiter for events such as the Super Bowl, NCAA Final Four, and college football national championships. Dan, welcome to the show and thanks for being with us today.
Stan, great to be with you. Thank you for having me.
So let's talk a little bit about the Atlanta Sports Council. As I said in the opening, it's similar to what we do out here, but give us a little bit of the history of the Atlanta Sports Council.
Thank you. You're right. We kind of exist to do the same thing, right? We drive quality of life and economic impact to our areas through sporting events. We were formed in 1985. As part of the Metro Atlanta Chamber. And our story is Indianapolis formed the first sports commission out of Eli Lilly, who funded it.
Exactly.
And so our forefathers said, you know, listen, we're looking at a potential future Olympic bid. We need to have a group kind of in place to kind of lead that charge. Right. And so in 1985, the Metro Atlanta Chamber formed our group. We were originally called Sports 2000.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, so they were very forward-thinking in that matter. And then as we kind of evolved and developed, we changed into the Atlanta Sports Council. But we exist here to kind of drive quality of life to Metro Atlanta and economic impact, but also visibility for the region, for the entire region, by recruiting these big sporting events. And then once we recruit them here, we jump into the planning and the organizing of the events, which is a lot harder, as you can imagine, than actually recruiting it in some cases.
So now, how long have you actually been with the Sports Council?
Oh, gosh, 21 years. 21 years.
So you've been there for a long part of that history. So
yes,
absolutely.
I have. And I enjoy it.
So, Dan, you know, I'm an Atlanta native. You've been here a long time, and the perception of Atlanta as a sports city has done a lot of this over the years. We've gone from Loserville to what a lot of people think is sort of the capital of all things sporting in our nation right now. How did we get from there to there in this period of time?
Well, listen, let's just talk. That, to me, that's such a tired talking point. I'm so over the Loserville thing. And so I think we can officially put that to bed. Right?
I agree.
With what the Georgia Swarm have done, winning the NLL championship, and now what the Atlanta United have done, winning the MLS Cup. We are now winning championships. Okay?
Right, exactly.
But I think it comes down to when someone is looking to move and begin a career or re-energize their career in a different market, how do you select where you're going to go? Sometimes it's based on the job, but sometimes it's based on the market. I didn't see a lot of people moving to Philadelphia right after the Eagles won the Super Bowl, right?
Exactly.
Okay, no, they didn't, because no one wants to live in Philadelphia unless you have to. But people are moving to Metro Atlanta and here in Gwinnett and all parts of Atlanta, you know, each and every year by the thousands. And I think that's because of the quality of life and the cultural aspect that we have for people to really kind of enjoy. And sports is included in that. The big events that you mentioned earlier and the events that you have here in Gwinnett all go into that formula of what's the content? What are the things to do in Atlanta? Because that's what people are looking for now when they look for a community.
So, you know, and it doesn't seem like it's a fact that you guys have come out with one announcement after another of a major sporting event.
Yeah.
Now, I can't believe it's just coincidence that all these things happen at one time. So tell us a little bit about what brought all these events here where we are able to make these major announcements.
Well, it's a good question. We have a strategy to try to secure and host a major event each year up until 2030. And that's ambitious, but there are events out there that we can pursue and host. And again, we need to make sure everyone understands that when an event takes place in downtown Atlanta, it's not affecting just downtown. It's the entire region, Gwinnett included, is hosting the Super Bowl, right? We have 10,000 volunteers that are helping us put on the Super Bowl when Super Bowl week starts. I can guarantee you a lot of those people are from Gwinnett. County.
Including my employees.
There you go. So it takes the entire region to host a Super Bowl in that regard. But we've had a great run. You mentioned the College Football Playoff National Championship earlier this year. We had the MLS All-Star Game this past August.
Right.
We're 51 days away from hosting Super Bowl 53, and then our fifth men's Final Four in 2020. Yeah. We have a pending bid for the Major League Baseball All-Star Game, hopefully for 21. Hopefully we get good news on that soon. And then some other things, year after that. Leading up to 26 and the FIFA World Cup. So,
exactly.
But as you know, you have to go after these events so far in advance, right?
Yeah.
And so, we've got a lot of work ahead of us, but it's been a good run.
Well, and another thing people need to realize is that, you and I love Atlanta, so we can see why they should come here.
Yes,
but you're
right.
competing with cities all over the country for these events,
We
right?
are, and everybody wants the event, right? And as you know, the costs go up because it is a competitive bid process. And so no different than if a city or a state is pursuing a big corporate relocation, sometimes going after these big events is similar to that, right? There's financial commitments that are made to try to get these events, but the counter to that, when someone says, well, why would you pay for all that? Well, the return on that investment is tenfold. In the case of the Super Bowl, we're at about a $40 million operating budget right now. But, if depending on what economist you believe, there are some studies that say the return on that is $400 million, the economic impact. So that's a 10-to-1 return.
Oh,
that's pretty good return on investment there.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
So I want to talk about the Super Bowl, but before we get to that, which is the obvious, interesting thing that's happening right now, but I want to talk about the unexpected, and that being Atlanta United.
Yeah.
Who saw that coming?
Arthur.
Exactly.
Arthur Blank.
Arthur Blank.
Darren Eales, Carlos Bocanegra, all of the guys there. And congrats to them.
Absolutely.
I mean, again, what Atlanta United have done, in my opinion, to raise the soccer profile, not only within our community, but nationally and globally, is incredible. And it actually resonates for us in our effort to try to get FIFA World Cup here in 26.
How could it not?
Again, the globalization of that sport and what the brand has done, the United have done brand-wise globally, really shows that our soccer profile has risen to such a level that I think it becomes a little bit easier for us to tell our story as to why we should host the World Cup.
What do you think, if you had to just think about a couple of things, what did Arthur Blank and A&B Sports do differently than some of the other startup teams would have done that created an MLS champion in the second year?
Well, they have a great venue, right?
Absolutely.
And so that venue adds to the atmosphere, the fan experience. If you've been into a game, a United match in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, the noise is constant and it's right on you, and there's just a buzz and an energy, which I think then feeds the team.
Right.
That's aesthetics, perhaps, but on the pitch, on the field, what Darren and the team have created, and I'm not a soccer expert, but it certainly seems like their style of play is appealing, and the fact that they're really good at how they play, I think leads to the wins and to their success. And so, and then you have a committed owner in Arthur Blank, and he wants nothing but the best, and it shows.
For people who, I'm not a soccer expert either, and wasn't raised with soccer, and a lot of folks in this area are in that same category, but for those of us who are categorically in that place, how does this championship compare with when the Braves won the World Series, or what's the comparison?
Well, it's a lot more recent.
Exactly.
I mean, we're going back a ways there.
Exactly.
So hopefully, as we said at the beginning, this is kind of the turning point in that talking point where we don't win championships. So as we look ahead, hopefully there's more to come. But it does go back a while. I mean, there certainly was an energy, and the Braves have a tremendous following, not only regionally, but within Metro, but within the entire Southeast. Here in Gwinnett, of course, with the Gwinnett Braves. So. Stan, I think that, it's just came at such a time, what United did and what their championship came at such a time. It was just, you almost felt it coming the whole year. We had, as their season was going on, we had the bid for the World Cup, at the same time. And so there was, the messaging was kind of mixed between their success and our pursuit of the World Cup. And I think it just kind of ballooned and swelled into this fantastic, result.
Well, kudos to everybody in that organization. And, we had some dealings with them out here in Gwinnett with Atlanta United too. And
Really just a first-class
Right.
organization.
Yes, they are. Yeah.
Through and through. So good for them.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the Super Bowl. And you alluded to some of the points about the Super Bowl, that it doesn't just happen overnight. How long ago did you actually start
Searching to get that thing
The
here.
Super Bowl is a little different. The NFL works with the local franchise through an application process, and the team in the community has to pursue the right to bid,
Right.
and then get approved. And so the Falcons did and got approved. So once that happens, we received the RFP, the request for proposal from the NFL, which is about that big, as you well know.
Yep.
And that was in 2014, late 2014, 2015. The bid process was about 13 months from that point. And it was May 26th, I want to say, of 2016 when Commissioner Goodell said Atlanta for 19, when we were all jumping up and down and celebrating. So it was quite a long period.
You talked about Mercedes-Benz Stadium and what a great venue that was for soccer and obviously for football. Do you think that had an effect with them coming here as far as what a great facility it is?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I think that's the model for Super Bowls. If communities will put that public commitment behind a venue, that they will then get that return of a Super Bowl. But it goes beyond kind of the building. You have to have a history of hosting big events, and we're lucky that we do in this region, of hosting, as we've talked about, the biggest sporting events in the country. Yeah. But one of our talking points, as you have here, is kind of the fan friendliness of our setup, right? You have this great venue in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and then in walking steps of it, you have the Georgia Will Congress Center, which hosts all the big fan events, the public fan events. And then across the street from that, you have Centennial Olympic Park, which is the concert venue. And then across the street from that, you have State Farm Arena, which is another concert venue or other kind of public events or venues. Then you have the College Football Hall of Fame, the Georgia Aquarium, the World of Coca-Cola, the Center for Civil Human Rights around that. So all of that is walkable. And then you have on top of that 11,000 hotel rooms all within walking distance. So that's our story, really. So that's number one when we get to why Atlanta should host these events. Is you start with the airport and accessibility, and the fact that over 80% of the U.S. population can get here to Atlanta on one flight, a 2-hour flight. That's very appealing. And then once they arrive here easily to Atlanta, they then take a short ride to downtown, either on MARTA or Uber or however they want to get there, and then they're never getting any transportation again unless they want to, because everything is walkable.
It's perfect.
Yes, that's our biggest talking point.
Yeah.
Professional sports, including professional football, obviously it's a sport, but if it's not in the entertainment business, I don't know what is. And it's never been so much entertainment as a Super Bowl halftime show. Yes. So tell us, what do you know about the Super Bowl halftime show?
Well, I know this. The NFL controls it. So we, as a host committee, we have an entity formed that after we won the bid, called the Atlanta Super Bowl Host Committee. Not too creative of a name, but it is our legal entity that, and 26 people on staff to kind of run the day-to-day planning and serve as the liaison to the NFL as we prepare the community to host this big event. But really, it's the NFL's event. And they control every aspect of the event, as they should, including the halftime show and who performs, even to the dancers that you see on the field and the people that are having fun. They control that group as well. So we have supplemented what the NFL has done with the halftime show by bringing in local artists across all genres of music into our Super Bowl Live event, which is going to be our host committee entertainment event in Centennial Olympic Park. And it's free to the public, and we're going to have 6 concerts, and they're all going to be produced by Jermaine Dupri, which is Atlanta's
sort of knows what he's doing.
Kind of knows music, and a wide range of music, which we're excited about. And so that's kind of our goal is to try to allow all of Metro Atlanta the chance to enjoy Super Bowl week, because it's going to be tough to get a ticket. It's a corporate event, and the NFL controls the tickets. But there are opportunities free of charge where Atlantans can come in and enjoy the buzz and the energy of Super Bowl week. And we're encouraging everyone to come down in the early part of the week. That's Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, with all the things that we'll have going on. until the visitors will start coming in Thursday and Friday, and then it gets a little more for the visitors at that time. So
how many people do you expect to come to Atlanta for this event?
We're looking at about 250,000 people, based on what San Francisco had to come in with a ticket and without a ticket, all told. But we're trying to impact over 1 million Atlantans and Georgians to come in and really kind of just enjoy this.
Yeah.
The other thing you mentioned earlier, which I know all about from things we do out here, and that's volunteers. But how many volunteers did you say?
We have 10,000, and our host committee staff, which we have 3 or 4 folks just dedicated to community programs, which includes the volunteer program. They had to interview upwards to 30,000 people to go through this process, because the NFL requires background checks on the volunteers. As you can imagine, it's a major event, and so we ended up just with the best 10,000 folks we can find. Of those 10,000, we've got 450 that stood out, and so they're captains, and then they have folks underneath them, and so. It's really the part, as you know, in hosting events, it's really that part that goes unsaid, but you need to talk about it more, the importance of having good volunteers behind the program and behind the event, because that's kind of the touch point to the visitors, right? When they come in, it's the locals that are really showing them that hospitality that we're known for. So we'll be judged on how our volunteer program goes,
100%.
and I know we're going to do great.
Yeah.
We're going to do great.
Dan, we're going to take a break and come back. I want to ask you a couple more questions before we wrap up today.
That'd be great.
About some other things you got going on.
Good.
We're talking today with Dan Corso, who's the president of Atlanta Sports Council. We're going to take a short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back after these messages.
If you love them enough to drive an hour to cheer them on as they get beat 11-0 in the rain, then surely you'll check NHTSA.gov/the-right seat to make sure they're correctly buckled in the back seat.
Throw that ball, Diane. Woo! You got this.
What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text-to-emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies. Selfie, nailed it.
We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Craig, come on man, let's split a ride home.
Welcome back to the show. We're talking today with Dan Corso, who is the president of the Atlanta Sports Council. And Dan, we've talked about a lot of things. One thing I want to tell you before we get too far gone here is I want to thank you personally for everything that you've done for Gwinnett County. I meet people all the time and they'll ask me, are you guys affiliated with the Atlanta Sports Council? And I'll say, absolutely.
Yeah, partners.
Partners.
Yeah,
and I don't think there's ever been a thing we've asked you for and you didn't do, and I hope that we've done the same for you. But it's a great partnership,
Same to you.
I just want you to know we appreciate that.
Thank you, Stan.
So just wrapping up a little bit today, the Super Bowl, what a phenomenal opportunity that is for Atlanta and what it does for the placement throughout the country and really throughout the world when all eyes are on us. So we're excited about that. I want to talk a little bit about the whole FIFA thing you were talking about as far as soccer because of the worldwide impact that certainly has.
Yes.
Just tell us a little bit, update us on where that process is.
Thank you. So this past June 13th, North America was successful in their bid to FIFA to host the 2026 FIFA World Cup. It's the first time that multiple countries are going to come together and host the event. In this case, it's going to be the United States partnered with Canada and Mexico. And coincidentally, it's also at a time, and I think this went into the decision, that FIFA and the tournament is going to actually expand. They're going to 48 teams. It's currently at 32 teams.
Right,
so by 26, it'll be 48 teams, and that means it increases to 80 matches. So they need, obviously, volume of cities in order to accommodate the 80 matches. So the way the breakdown will be is Canada will host the 10 early matches. Mexico will host, looks like, the 10 early matches. And then the U.S. will host 60 matches from, looks like, the quarterfinals on. Yeah. As part of the bid, the North America bid was under an entity called the United Bid Committee, no affiliation with Atlanta United, but just meaning United countries. The United Bid Committee's pitch to FIFA was that Atlanta would serve, they proposed Atlanta to serve as a semifinal site, along with Dallas as the other semifinal and New York City as the final, which is really cool because we would love to host a semifinal. If a city hosts a semifinal, they get upwards to 5 to 7 matches, and then of course the semifinal match. So it's a lot of activity for us if we were able to make that happen. Where we are now is it's been a little dormant, but we expect that the first quarter of next year we will begin the process again because there are 16 cities in the U.S. still remaining as options for FIFA to select from. They need 10 cities. So about 6 cities are going to get cut. And it's our job to make sure Atlanta is not one of them. We don't expect that to happen, but you never know. So we have a bid that we're going to have to put in order to make sure we're one of those 10 cities and hopefully be named, officially named a semifinal city. That won't occur. That won't happen until June of 2020. So we've still got some runway on this thing. So we talked earlier about how long the Super Bowl bid process, and that was a long one. But this one's twice as long.
Would they play at Mercedes?
They would play at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. We pitched the Atlanta United Training Ground as the practice site, the training site for the teams.
Great facility.
Yes, and then we pitched hotels all over Metro Atlanta as potential fan hotels, and so. It goes back to our normal pitch and our normal story as to why Atlanta is a great host. And it's not just a downtown Atlanta hosting, it's a Metro Atlanta hosting. It's a statewide hosting.
It has to be.
It does. And something on that scale and that magnitude, we really need the entire state and the entire community to be engaged.
Well, it is an exciting time to be a sports fan in Atlanta. I'm a Gwinnetian, but I'm also an Atlantan, so I appreciate everything you're doing and appreciate you spending some time with us today.
Thank you, and credit to you, Stan, for what you guys are doing at the Gwinnett Sports Commission. When we talk about nationally, Atlanta is a great sports community. It certainly is because of what you guys do here in Gwinnett. And a sports community is really only as good and as marketable as it can be when they have good venues and good hospitality, and you certainly have that here in Gwinnett. So
appreciate
thank you.
your time today for visiting.
Thanks, Stan.
Take care.
Appreciate it.
That's all the time we have today. If you'd like to know more about the Gwinnett Sports Commission or upcoming sporting events in our area, visit our website at GwinnettSportsCommission.com. Thanks for being with us. I'm Stan Hall. See you next time on Get in the Game. Bye.